Hello, everyone. Welcome to to the year 2023. Okay. My name is Oluwatosin Anishere. I am a Microsoft certified trainer, Microsoft MVP, and a mentor. Okay, I have over 13 years of work experience. I work with Avanade Ireland as a modern workplace consultant. My area of expertise is in architecting and administrative identity, security, and governance solution in Azure and Microsoft 365. I'm one of the leaders of the Azure Nigeria community, and today I'll be the host for this event. So we are beginning our Azure Study Series. For those of you that have been following us in our past events, we have gone through AZ 900 to talk about the fundamentals, to learn fundamentals of Azure. We have gone through AZ 104, which is the intermediate learning, to know more about administering, Azure administration. And now we are keenly looking to go advanced, and our study series will be taking the route of AZ305, which is the solution architect. This is basically designed for solution architect, where architect can create solution for either compute, network, storage, and security. So I have with me here our amazing speaker, Raphael. Raphael is a Microsoft certified trainer. He is also one of the leaders of the Azure Nigeria community. He's an experienced cloud engineer who has demonstrated history in working in information technology. He's skilled in Node.js and has worked on solutions that met reliability, low latency, high availability, security best practice, as well as standards using the open source framework tools such as Pivotal, Git, Kubernetes, Docker, you name it. He's a seasoned speaker, and he will be speaking to us today on how to, design a governance solution. Welcome, Mr. Raphael.
Thank you very much, Oluwatosin. Um, thank you, and I have I feel privileged to be the first person to be presenting for our study series. So, guys, I want to welcome you to the event. A thing or two. So, if you've been studying your AZ 900, this adds a little topping to whatever that you have learned before. And do you know one thing I love about Microsoft? Okay, so everything. So we're gonna build upon those little things that you know. So you see that we're building from the ground up. So I hope that you fasten your seatbelt as I dive right in and tell us this topic. So we will be speaking about, as Tosin rightly introduced, we'll be speaking about AZ AZ305 topics, and the first one is designing a. Okay, so hopefully we'll be covering all the things that you're seeing on the screen, and I'd like you to know that this is part of your exam. You'll be tested, and it takes about 25 to 30% of the marks. Okay, so now to start with, okay, whenever you're talking about governance, whenever uh, um, whatever that you're doing in Azure, okay, you must first of all create a structure, okay, for your organizational environment. Like I said before, we're building a structure on whatever meets anything that's a little bit difficult. As we go along the line, we'll be breaking it down, okay? So when you hear governance in Azure, we need to create a structure. Now, talking about structures, okay, we have about four different types, okay, with regards to Azure. The first one is be talking about subscriptions. We're going to be talking about resource groups and resources itself. Okay, so these they are here, but if anyone wants to talk about uh, each one of them with in 5 seconds, what just tell me what you know in the chat window in 5 seconds. I'm going to be counting 1, 2, 3, 5 before I want to prick your memory a little bit. If you can tell me what each one of this one is, what each of this is about. Okay, so I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to show you what they are. So management access, okay, your policy, your compliance for multiple subscriptions. So if you have multiple subscriptions, okay, so you want to manage whatever you're doing, you need management groups. So we'll be diving right into it during the course of the lecture, okay. Secondly, subscriptions. Subscriptions are logical containers that serve as unit of management and scale. We'll be talking more about this as well. Your resource group. Let me push back a little bit and let me talk about resource group. Now, you all have, wherever you're watching this lecture from, okay, you have a kitchen, I have a bathroom, I have a living room. The same way you don't go to the market and put kitchen items in the bathroom, okay? Or you put in the toilet. That's how resource groups are. Resource groups are meant for you to keep things together. Okay. So when you go to the market, you buy tomatoes, you know they're not meant for how resource group is. So resources, anything you create in Azure that solves a problem is a resource. Okay. So I'm going to move on quickly. Now that we've talked about the structure that you need to create if you're creating a governance solution. Now, I'm going to talk about why governance is important. Is important because you want your organization to manage all their resources and you want them to comply with all the laws and regulation. So you don't want to be a company that is providing a service. So you want to make sure that every single law with regards to everything, okay, it's being adhered to. So and the way to do this with regards to Azure Cloud is governance. Okay, so yeah, so laws. You want everything to be done the right way. You want this policy to be adhered to. You want this regulation to be met. Okay, governance is what should come to your mind. Okay, so it can be used to set policies and controls for managing access, usage of all your Azure resources. So I'm not going to read everything verbatim, but at least you should have an idea of what governance is about now. So I'm going to push ahead and see what the next. Now, I'd like someone to tell me if you are in a company, okay, who in your company will be concerned about governance? Can anyone give me an idea? I'm going to come concerned about governance in an organization. So I'm going to count 5 sessions. If I don't see anyone, I'm going to show the answer. So I'm counting 1, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to show you the answer, okay? So governance is important because in your organization, you will have so many things that need to, so many requirements, okay? Okay, so give me a minute. The light went off. I hope I'm not too dark. I hope that you can still see me. So in an organization, you have different departments, okay? So different departments will have and things that they need to comply and adhere to. So you have IT department. IT department, there might be certain rules that IT department need to maintain. Okay, the compliance and risk in the company, every department, every team needs to be on board with this. Okay, so it's not just one particular person that should be concerned about governance. Every single department in the company has to one stone unturned. You might be surprised that at the end of the day you're breaking a particular law, or you might be doing something wrong. So everyone, so long as the company needs to be involved with regards to governance. So let me show you, I'm going to use 2 seconds to show you my own explanation of what each of these departments and sections and segments that I've listed do. Okay, so the IT and security department, they are responsible for managing the security and compliance of the resources in the company. So yeah, you see that for compliance as well. You see that for management executives. So I'm going to read. Executives are responsible for the overall strategy and the direction of the company. So they need to ensure that the company is compliant with the laws and the regulations. So if so, the want to be putting eye on every other department. Okay, IT department, are you adhering to this? Did you do this? Compliance, did you do this? So yeah, so let's move forward. So I hope by now you understand about governance in an organization. Okay, so now, yeah, so I'm going to ask you another question. Okay, when you start even thinking about governance at any point in time? So I'm going to give you 2 seconds to answer this as well. So I want someone to tell me when you feel that we should be concerned about governance. So 1, 2. Yes. So you should be concerned about governance as soon as your project starts growing and gaining complexity. Because if you wait, you might miss some very, very important. You don't have to wait to, or don't say, okay, I'll wait the third quarter, I'll wait the fourth quarter of the year, I'll wait the final quarter of the year. No. Immediately you see that your project is growing or your organization on how to make sure governance is taken care of. Okay, so it will help you to ensure that decision-making processes is clear, is transparent, and everyone know when they're supposed to come in and what they're supposed to add to make sure that the company is pushing towards the goals and everything with regards. Start immediately, the company starts making progress or strides. Yes. So another implement governance. So I'm not asking you this one. I'm going to tell you. Okay. So if you don't implement governance, it can lead to a lack of decision-making authority. Okay. So you don't tell the IT department. Okay. Do be kept by the company. So you do not tell them. You do not tell the finance department. You do not tell the legal department. So they won't know. They won't know. So no authority. It can lead to accountability because no one told them what to do. So they did not know. So and they won't know the direction that the company is moving toward. Fortunately today, whether you like it or not, there are some companies that will choose not to follow the law, even though they know that the law is there. So they might feel that, okay, the bosses, the higher ups, executives and the management, they're doing it on purpose. So you need to make sure that everyone is on board, and everyone is on board, and everyone knows that everything can move on the way it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and talk about other things now. Yes, so we've introduced governance to who should be concerned about governance, why governance is important. So we've looked at governance. We've touched on some very, very key points. Office. So you have that foundational idea of why and when and who about governance. So now let's hit it with regards. Governance provides a mechanism and process to maintain control over your application and your resources. So it's just a repeat of what I said earlier, but you can see that its grip really on Azure. So it provides how you want to maintain control over your application. So assuming that you spin up a virtual machine, how you want to make sure that it's adhering to the things that it's supposed to adhere to. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at each of this. Okay, so now as you can see from the diagram, okay, there is a hierarchy. Okay, so it starts starting with the management groups. Okay, and you say subscription, you say resources and resource. Resource is last. Okay, resource is last because that is the solution that you are creating. Be the management group. So whatever happens from the top, it trickles down. So management groups will always be up. So where you enforce the policies, and it trickles down to the final resources. Go ahead and see what other things that we have. Yeah. So to wrap that part up. Okay, that part I've just talked about, to wrap it up. Okay, so why governance is important, and the components of the little components that you find there. The first one, management group, it will help you to assess policy and compliance for multiple subscriptions. You want to find a way to put like they say, I don't know, like they say, yeah, like they say, would yeah, people would do anyhow, people would misbehave, so they need to be law. So it will give you a space to put your laws and your regulation on you're doing this. Remember, okay, let me not. So yeah, let's push ahead. So subscriptions are logical containers that serve. Okay, so subscriptions, as you know from your AZ900, would give you billing boundaries. Okay, so subscriptions are the ones that will give you billing boundaries and your access control. Resource group earlier, and resources are instances of whatever that you're creating to find a solution. So when you talk about governance, think about management groups, think about subscription, think about resource group, think about the final. Let's move ahead. But if you still have any doubts, please put it in the chat box, and we'll talk more about it. Okay, I'll clear it out for you. Yes. So let's look at this now. In designing for management groups, let's take a look at what management groups can do for you. I know we touched it on the surface. We talk about what a management group can do for you. Management groups are containers that help you to assess policies. Like I said earlier on, you want to put laws and regulation that will trickle down. Okay, let me give you a little scenario. I'm sure that you all went to secondary school. I don't know if you're watching this from Kenya. I don't know if you're watching this from Zimbabwe. So I don't know where you're watching this from, but you all know that school, the things must, lots others must come from. Okay, so they pass through the principal first. So the principal takes them and passes them to your teacher passes them to the head boy before it gets to you. A little idea. So the Ministry of Education want to enforce a law on the school. It has to, it will first of all say, okay, let's make sure that every principal available. So they push it to the principal, and the principal has to make sure that it pushes it to the teachers. Teachers push it to the head boy or the school prefect. So the students will be like your resources. So because they are the final products of the school. So I hope that
we
idea is
lost you
clear.
there for a bit. I'm sorry, I think we lost you there for a bit.
Okay, so I was giving an example. I was comparing a management group to a school, a secondary school. My experience of going to high school, and I remember that when a new policy is about to be enacted by Ministry of Education, they will first of all call for Principal will attend, and the principal will pass the message to yeah, the principal will come and pass the message to meeting, pass the message to the staff. The staff will now go, they will call the head boys. Head boys would do the needful, and they finally pass it to the student. So I compared to a management group, and the students at the bottom to Azure resources. So I hope that that is clear. So I'm going to move ahead with my presentation. Are containers that help you to manage. So yeah, I've explained this using, so yeah, so they can help you limit the region where virtual machines can be created because they are passing certain laws, okay? They help you limit where virtual machines can be created. Yeah, principal passes a message, dishes it out to teachers, it goes everywhere, okay? So they can provide users access to multiple subscriptions, okay? So now, I still using high school as an example. Okay, so the principal can choose who. Okay, say okay, this law will not apply to class 2B, or maybe the whole of senior secondary school students. Or like in Africa here, we have junior secondary school and senior secondary school. So the principal can apply to senior secondary school. Okay, it applies only to junior secondary school. So management group can pass a law and and make sure that it passes to, yeah. So they can monitor and audit roles and assignment across subscription. So I hope that this point is clear, and let's move ahead. So we have a lot on our plate. Yes. Next, how will be used, okay, for your management group. Flat, nested, how many levels? Okay. Now, remember these things that we're talking about. We're talking about, think about what we're saying. We're talking about how your company can adhere to the law, regulation, and every single thing, okay? With regards to what you're manufacturing, with regards to your company, how you can be able to adhere without, how you can do what you're doing in any single law, okay? Now, it depends on the complexity and the size of your data, the complexity of what you're working on, and what you are doing, level of granularity in your analysis. How specific, how deep do you want to go? Okay. Now, what all projects? So, and lastly, your understanding of the data and the requirements of the task at hand by the developer or the designer. So I hope that this is clear. So let's move ahead. Another little question we need to ask ourselves. So these things that you're saying are notes from my own personal study, and that's why I added them to the slide. Okay. So how will you decide to organize your management group? So when you're organizing your management group, there are several factors that you size and structure of your organization. How big is your organization? Is your organization does your organization have every branch in the 36 states of the country? Yeah, okay. So I like when doing trainings, I like using Kuda as an example. So Kuda is an online bank, okay, that is so that branch in the whole of the country. They beat a lot of the competitors because the competitors need to have branches, physical branches everywhere. But this bank, you will not believe it, have just so if fulfillment center they use for dispatching card, but guess what? They can reach every part. They reach every part of the organization of the country, and they are even in other African countries. Okay, so just so that you know, they're able to do this using using something as powerful as Cosmos DB. So that's that, by the way. But now let's continue back. So that a company like Kuda wants to organize a management group, how will they do that? Okay, so what are the factors that they will consider? Okay, so it depends on the size and structure of the company. what their goals are, what their responsibilities are, and their level of autonomy. They will also need to define clear lines of authority and accountability. And lastly, the availability and skill set the the organization. So you do not just go and make decisions without looking at who is in the organization. Because at the end of the day, you put those laws. Okay, you put those laws. You need people that are one or two things, uh, so that the laws are adhered to. So remember at the beginning, I was mentioning which people will be affected with at every department. We talk about the fact that is every department. If it's a finance department, if it's a legal department, whatever department, because so you need to organize your management group with these people in mind, so that whatever you're doing, they will have the skills to be able to comply to whatever arrangement and organization that you're doing. So I hope that you are clear. But if please drop it in the comment section. I'm going to answer it, or you will talk to me later on, because we are in the community and I'm always accessible. See what next we have. Now, this is actually very important. Okay, who will create a management group? Okay, who can create a management group? Now, remember, I hope that you've not forgotten how we started all this, how all these talks came about. Okay, so you need a structure where laws are passed, okay, from the top to the bottom. Okay, at the bottom is the solution or the app that you're presenting group. So who creates this management group? First of all, senior management. Okay, so now remember, senior management is responsible for the direction, okay, the strategic goals. So senior management, I would say, the first one, okay, because they have the authority to create and manage high-level groups that align to the overall group goals and of the organization. Now, HR groups based on job functions. Okay, so if the management sits and says, okay, we need this, we need this, we need this, at the end of the day, HRO will be the one to put people in those, be responsible for creating groups that are based on functions. IT department, we are all in IT, and you know how dynamic IT department is. So they're responsible for creating groups for managing access to the resources and all that and all that. So IT department is very, very important, because the Azure platform itself is going, the resources are going to be managed by IT department. Would have to have a stake with regards to creation of management groups. So now, project managers can create groups specific to projects and teams. Operational manager can do this as well. So I hope that this is clear. I hope that when you are asked in an interview, or you come into a situation and you've been asked who's going to create a management group, you don't just narrow it to one. No, it's the answer is beyond come into your mind is IT department. It's not just IT department alone. So based on the role, based on whatever each group is doing, specific need, specific project of the organization. So I hope that this is clear. But like I said earlier on, if you're still having any issues, put it in the comments, put it in the chat window. Forward. Yes, this is also very important. How will you protect your management group from changes or the laws that you've enacted at the top? How will you make sure that those laws are not disorganized, are not scattered? How will you ensure that the rules that you have put in down to the very, very minute thing, the very, very most important service that you're delivering to the public, that rule, that law is not scattered? The very first thing, you need to make clear your policies or changing of anything. Okay, so you need to put certain laws in place to make sure that, okay, if you do this, this will happen. So you need to let people know regularly. You need to make sure everything is going well. Then you need to make sure that there is a system of permission or access control. So this is the one that we are most familiar with. Okay, as people in IT, I know that the first thing that will come to your mind when I ask this, yeah, so you need to make sure that you implement a system of permission and access control. Now, you need to keep a detailed documentation on the group structure. Okay, so you need to have documentation. I remember when I started my IT career, so documentations are super important. Okay, now, yes, before we get to the final one, in case anything gets that there is a backup. Okay, there's always a backup in case anything gets accidentally deleted, in case anything is lost, you can actually restore it. But lastly, and actually not putting new structures without training the people about the importance of those structures. So you need to make sure that your whole workers, your employees are trained on structures and everything. So let's move ahead, and I hope that this one is clear as well. Okay, so we've come to a very critical part of. We're going to be looking at how to plan your management group. Now, remember that a management group can have about 6 structures, but you need to make sure that your management group is not too complex. Okay, so the highest is 6, but you should always make sure it's about three or 4 is good. So as you can see from the on the left, yeah, it's on my left. Okay, so you can see that the root is there. Okay, so you see that the company, the tailwind, then it trickles down. So this is about 4. So if it's too complex, there might be yeah, you need to go through the complexity to manage it. So you don't want or you don't want to put those things there, and yeah, you have people that would remember one of the points we said earlier. You should make it that would be easy to manage by the people that you're creating it for. So don't make it too complex. 3 or 4 is good. Yeah. So consider a top level management group. Consider an organization. Okay, this you all understand because you all work, so we can easily relate to this. So in our department, in okay, so you need to follow the structure. You can't just jump queue. You need to report to your team lead. The team lead has a there's a structure for everything. So consider geographical structure, consider production management group, consider a sandbox management group, and that I hope that you're not confused. I hope that you're clear. So let's move on because we have this is a very, very we have a lot to talk about. How do you manage resources with management groups? So I'm not going to read all this to you, but there are all the things that you know already. Okay, so the other things that we've touched here and there already. So if your organization to assess policies and compliance for them. You know that already. So you have multiple subscriptions, you need a management group for that. You know. So it's all the things that we've talked about. So I'm not going to at you or that I've already touched on. Okay. So let me just read the last one. So you can build a flexible structure management group and subscription to organize your resources. Yeah. So I hope that so I'm going to do we have any question? So I assume that everyone is clear. So I'm going to move forward. So next week we has to do with design for subscription. Okay, so design for subscription. Now, for in design for subscription, the first thing we're going to look at how will you decide how many subscription your organization. Yeah, so your organization is a little bit complex. How will you decide how many subscription you need? So it depends on the size of the organization, the number of users accessing that required features and functionality, how much you want to spend on your IT for that year, your IT infrastructure. Are you on prem or your Are you hybrid? Okay, your overall goals and objective, free trial and free versions of the software. So these are all the things that you need for your organization. So I'm not going to give you any idea, but typically you'll have. So let's see. Uh, what kind of approach should you adopt? Should you adopt a centralized approach or decentralized approach? Okay, so now a centralized for managing all your subscriptions. Okay, so it streamlines and it can be a good way of managing your. Decentralized approach will give individual departments more control. So the I'm not going to tell you which approach you should managing your subscription, but it depends on the needs. Okay, it depends on the need, depends on the project, it depends on what you on. Okay, so what you're working on can determine which approach that you want to adopt with regards of managing your subscription. So remember, this section is talking about planning for thinking, okay, so how many subscription would I need? So I've told you what will determine that. So now let's assume we've settled the issue of how many subscriptions you need, how to, the kind of approach you want to use for your subscription, centralized or decentralized. So let's move forward. Now, in your subscription. Okay, so this is just a brief overview. The topic still has a lot of these things. We're going to touch on them. So the discussion, but these are the things that you use to enforce policies and role assignments in a subscription. The first one is Azure policy. Okay, second one is Azure blueprint. We have Azure Live, and we have RBAC. Okay, role-based access control. So I'm going to move on and we'll see. So assuming that you have multiple subscriptions, okay, so go about it. So we've talked about what Azure subscriptions are. So the first thing you need to look at, you need to align your subscription with your business needs and priority. Okay, so we've touched on this in a way. Okay, so so what you're working on will determine. Okay, now the next thing you should consider administrative management. So do you want centralized or decentralized? Okay, so now group subscription together under management group. So you must put your subscription under management group because you want to make sure that the laws trickle to all the subscriptions. Okay, you want to enforce laws from the top to the bottom. Okay, so if you have a subscription, you must put it to consider scale limits. Okay, what are the requirements of those workloads? Okay, that's another thing you need to consider. So you also need to consider a dedicated or shared service or a subscription. You want to make sure that the owners are aware of their roles and responsibility. So remember what we said at the beginning. You make sure that everything is of those people that you are creating it for. Do they have the skill set to manage, to work with them or manage them? So when you've made just the way we talked about management groups, okay, make sure that the people you're creating it for, they know what they're supposed to do. So let's move ahead. Yes. So when do you use a subscription? Okay. So secure and role-based access control to achieve compliance. So we can see from the diagram on the left, we have the root, we have the company itself, and you see that. So we have the corporate and the legal. So the corporate has the HR and the legal team. Okay. Meanwhile, the research and development team. So now the IT department now has, so the subscriptions are for the corporate department, you have just two. So we're asking now, the question is asking, when should you use a subscription? Okay. So now, specialized workload that need to scale and to scale outside the subscription limit. So manage and cost for your organizational structure. So we can identify different environments and R&D. Okay, so I hope that you're clear with this. So let's move ahead. So let's design for resource group. Okay, so now you remember what a resource group is. So a resource group is a logical container where you can place similar resources in Azure. So you have the same, okay, so yeah, so you place in a single resource group, you're placing all your things there. So in a multiple resource group, you're creating different resource groups. So okay, this subscription, like in my own personal account, I have like about 5 different resource groups for that subscription. Okay, so but so you can see that, so resource groups. Now let me come to, yeah, let me explain it in a different way. When you are sure that this resource, okay, like this virtual machine, this SQL database, and uh, this IP address, they share this. The project is starting, the project is ending the same time. You can place them together. Okay, so when you're sure that you can group them by types, okay, have about 3 different types of databases. Okay, so you can put all databases in the same place. Okay, assuming that you say, okay, so many resources, you can put all the resources of that department in the same place. Assuming that maybe you like US West or East US as your location in that location together. Okay, or maybe you want, so it depends. It's flexible, so you can choose to have, if definitely if they share the same project lifecycle. Okay, so if in a subscription you have, with the same in that subscription. So I hope that this is clear. We can apply RBAC and policies to a group of resources. You can use resource lock so that individual resources are not deleted or changed. Okay, so design for tagging. I think I'm going to drink some water. And if you have any question while I'm taking a sip of water, please ask. Okay, so proceed with the rest of the lecture. But I think that we've covered a lot of grounds already, because I can see that we are in design for tagging. So remember what tags are. So I like this topic because it's actually touching on critical topics of your AZ 900. Okay, we did things that you come across every day. Okay, when creating resources in Azure, like your subscription. Subscription is the first thing that you're going to meet when creating the resource in Azure. Because in your project details is asking you, okay, the first section when you're creating any resource in Azure that you'll always meet is your subscription. Okay, so we talked about the importance of subscription with regards to governance. We talked about resource groups. Okay, yeah, we just talked about resource group. Now we're talking about tagging. Okay, so tagging is always in Azure towards the end before you hit on deploy. Okay, so let's see now, how do we plan our tagging strategy? So we see this company, we have the corporate department, the IT department. We can see that there's 2 subscriptions for the corporate. We can see that there are departments. So how do we make sure that the resources created by the IT department are recognized as IT resources? Okay, how do we make sure that the resources created by the corporate department are corporate department's resources? So that's what tagging is going to do for us. So okay, so now let's consider our organization's taxonomy. Okay, so we can determine the reasons for tagging. What are the reasons for tagging? Okay, they can be functional, You can tag because you want to classify. You want to know who spent what, or how much IT department spent. So if you create a virtual machine, you need to tag it. That virtual machine, okay, this month we created 60 virtual machines. Okay, so and they were all created by the IT department for accounting purposes. You want to spend for that month, or maybe you are in a partnership and you want to know the resources that are owned by this your partner and the resources that were created by the other partner. You need to tag as well. Okay, now you need to start and scale out. So the resources that are so important, those are the ones that you scale, you tag first. Then as time goes on, you increase. Okay, policies can be used to apply tags and enforce rules and convention. Okay, so it does have for us. Now, I hope that you're clear about tags. Just by the way, like I said earlier, if you're creating a virtual machine, or it's just the last section before you hit on your create. Okay, so and tags would always come in key value pair. Okay, so just the same way, my name is Raphael. Okay, so the key is name, the value is Raphael. So key column value. So name column Raphael. So you need to create. Let's go back. Let me talk a little bit more about tags. Okay, so assuming that you want to tag an app created by the IT, you want to tag something created by the IT department. Okay, so the key is products. What kind of product did they create? Okay, so the key is product. They are all products. Okay, the value is app one. Okay, now can be shared. So these are so yeah. I hope that you get the concept. So tags will usually come in key value formats. Okay, so name colon Raphael, products. Product is the key. Product is the key again. Colon app two. Product is the key. Colon shared two. Colon shared. So I hope that you're clear. So let's move. And I've also told you the reasons why you tag. Okay, and yeah. So policies can be used to apply tags and enforce tagging rules. And ahead. So we're designing for policy and role-based access control now. Let's see what else that we have. Yeah, so this I like this one a lot. And still I like the reason I like this topic because it's a little bit it's not difficult. It's all the things that you know already. Because if you did your AZ900, you see that you've touched on all these things. So as a policy, so it's just building on the knowledge you know from your AZ900. Okay. So when you did tags and all that. So as a policy help you to enforce organizational standard and assess compliance at scale. So you want to enforce organizational standard, you want laws to be adhered to at scale policy. Okay. Now, let's see. The production department has two apps, app one, app two. Virtual machines limit. So you can use them to, you can use them to enforce certain laws. Okay. A virtual machine limit to setting a size. You can enforce. You use it to enforce tags and I want to make sure that this thing is not created in this place. I want to make sure that everything has a tag. Whatever is tagged, this should not be deleted and all that. So you can use it to enforce policies and at scale. Okay, so you can use it to deploy in only. If I do put that, okay, so remember that you want to take service, you want whatever service that you're providing to be very close to your customers so that there's no latency. Okay, so as people staying in South Africa, for example, I would have to make sure that I host the application in a data center that is close to the customers. So, and as such, I go and enforce certain policies. I say, okay, um, I don't want the department to deploy any other place other than South Africa because the service the application I'm making is meant for South Africans. Okay, so at that certain point, I can specify the locations that I want. And if you deploy anything to any, it will not be created. You see an error when you're creating your yeah, you see an error because the policy says South Africa only. So you can use to deploy in certain locations, different for each app. It can help you to enable audit and login for your SQL. There are a large number of building policies that you can use to create custom policies. So I like this one a lot because it actually eases up your work. You don't need to talk too much. You just use the policy, and those that are um, okay. Let me tell you a little story. I was I once consulted issue. Uh, they A very high government official's son decided to work in the department, and as an intern, you won't believe as an intern, so uh, policies were not enforced, and this guy went to delete a storage account that they've been using for like 10 years. The guy deleted. If policies were enforced, okay, if policies were enforced, if the guy is trying to delete that thing, you, obviously the company has a poor, uh, everything has been fixed now because we came in as experts and we advised them on what to do. So they fixed all that. But if they had enforced certain policies at the beginning, not be able to delete anything. Okay, so Azure policies would help you enforce organizational standards at scale. So okay, let's look at some examples. It will allow you only certain virtual machine sizes for your project. Yes. So if you enforce certain policies, say, okay, I want only this size to be used for this project. That's how it's going to be. It will are correctly tagged. If you do not tag, assuming that you want that project for production department, for example. So if it's not tagged production app one, it will not go. Okay. So it enables multi-factor authentication for all subscription accounts. So let's look at the next one. Azure policy. So Azure policy at the highest level possible. So Azure policy apply. Okay, you can use the apply policy. Sorry, you can use the apply policy at the highest possible scope. Okay, so to help you to know when policies are evaluated, to help you to policy is non-compliant, to also help you to consider when to automatically remediate a non-compliant resource. Okay, we can use Azure policy to enforce compliance, and to help you to combine Azure policy with RBAC. So let's look at what we have next. So I think that today's lecture. So we're designing for RBAC. What are the things that you are going to consider? So role-based access control allow you to grant granular access to Azure resources that you control. So you want this person, he's doing this particular thing he does is only related to whatever thing that his job has. Yeah, the things that he works with are the only things that are related to his job. So you only grant users access that they need. If you do not need any other access, you don't grant it. So you assign at the highest scope that meet the requirement. You assign roles to groups and not users. So this is actually very, very important. You're not assigning roles to in a lot of exams. You're going to meet this somewhere else. Okay, I'd like you to know that when you're assigning roles, you don't give it to a person. Okay, you add the person to a group. Okay, so you add the role to the group and you add the user to that group. So also you need to know when to create a custom role. Okay, so consider what happens if you have overlapping role assignments. Okay, so give roles to only what give someone only the role that they need for the reader. We have role specific roles, we have custom role, we have contributor role, and we have owner, which is the admin. You know what admin can do? Admin have um, ultimate power. Okay, so custom roles can be as you see from the screen. Okay, so it's to see what we have. So when to combine Azure policy with Azure RBAC. Remember what we're talking about RBAC. RBAC is granting role to someone, granting a role to someone, granting only the role that I need for my work to me. Okay, that's RBAC. Okay, so policy, you want to enforce laws, okay, then that's when you use Azure policy. You want to enforce laws and you want the laws to go company wide. Okay, that, like for example, I told you earlier, I'm just revising this for you again. So you understand when where the combination goes. So you want to make sure that okay, I gave you South Africa earlier. You want to you're developing a certain application for users in Nigeria. Okay, so it means that you're going to host the application close to Nigeria. So uh, if people you're creating it for people deploy anything to any other because you've created a policy already that anything that you any resource you're creating should be close to Nigeria. So if you put it any other place, that resource will not be created. Okay, so that's what policy. So when you combine these two, so you can see from the diagram. Okay, now the Azure admin. Okay, so does he have the permission? Does he have the permission? Have you granted him role-based access control to deploy that thing he's wanting to deploy? If he has not been granted, it will not go through. Okay, so if he has not been granted, it will not go through. Uh, uh, don't do this. Don't put it in a South Africa region and he's putting it in South Africa region. Definitely, if he says don't put and he's putting, it will not go. But if he says okay, put only in South Africa, if the policy says put only in South Africa and the guy puts in South Africa, definitely it will go through and he'll be able to uh, so we see a combination of you having the permission to do what you need to do and you having the rights, you working with the policy. So you know where you've been assigned, where the policy is saying you should deploy to. You have the permission to deploy to. So all positives, that's what I would say. You have the permission, you know where the policy is supporting. It goes through. You're going to definitely be able to uh, do what deploy that cloud resource. So let's look at some simple examples. So does the admin have the right to deploy? Yes or no? That's an RBAC. Does the admin have the right to deploy that kind of? Does he have the right to deploy an SQL database? Does he have the reply to the? Does the admin has the admin been added to the group of the people that have the permission to do this? Yes. Okay, so policy, I've talked about this a lot of time. I talked about policy South Africa when I was saying that you want to where the users are. So because of that, you create a policy and make sure it's only South Africa. So if if you if you deploy to that place, it will go through. So is that region South Africa is not restricted? So that's an example of a policy. Okay, now department. Did you did that is that has that resource been tagged? For IT department. Did you add the tag? So I remember that for everything that you I said this earlier. Yeah, I talked about tag earlier. Okay, so yeah, you know what a tag is. So did you tag it correctly? If you tag it correctly, definitely it will go. So I hope that you're having. But if you do have, put it in the comment section or talk to me later. I'm going to address it for you. So let's move forward. Yes. Another very good one that I like, Azure Blueprint. So let's talk about Azure Blueprint. So Azure Blueprint lets you define a repeatable set of governance tool. Azure Blueprint lets you define a repeatable set of governance tool and standard Azure resources and standards Azure resources that your organization would require. Okay, so you have on the left-hand side the, the, the tools. Okay, you have ARM resource templates, you have the resource groups, you have the role-based access control, you have the policy definitions. Okay, so as your blueprint, you have the definitions, you have the assignments, you can push them directly to the you can push them directly into your subscription. So you want to you want to do something repeatably. Okay, you don't want to just like what yeah ARM resource templates will do for you. Okay, so let it to and standard Azure would use. Okay, so let's move forward. So now another thing that you need to know for this topic is landing zones. Okay, so what are landing zones? A landing zone provides an infrastructure environment for hosting your work environment. So I'm going to take another 2 minutes break and drink water. Questions, put it in the comments section. Okay, I think we're almost done with the lecture for today. So okay, so I do not see any question in the comment section, and I do not see anybody's hand raised up. It means everything is going well. Okay, so that's good. So let's continue. Okay, so landing zone provides an infrastructure environment for hosting your workload. Okay, you want to host your workload, it will give you that environment with all the necessary tools that you need. Okay, so it will help you to implement key functional principle of governance. Governance. Okay, you want environment with all the governance set in place. Okay, so I need to know the difference between this and Azure Blueprint. So Azure Blueprint will you want to use a set of repeatable tools for whatever you're doing. That's when you think about Azure Blueprint. But for this one, you want to implement key functional the landing zone. Okay, so they would it helps you to provision the environment through code. It's good for both migration and greenfield situation. You can use whatever that you have already, your existing architecture, you can use it. Okay, so for people that are doing cloud migration because it's part of the cloud adoption framework ready phase. So I hope that that is clear. So you want an environment with everything set up already. You don't yeah you use a landing zone. So you can see the picture. I hope that this is clear. Okay, so we're gonna talk about this, and I have the solution on another slide. I'm gonna show you this. Take a look at the case study, but you should be able to answer it easily. Okay, so assuming that we have two main business units that handles apparel and sporting goods. So each of the business unit consists of 3 departments: product development, marketing, and sales. Okay, each business unit and sub-unit will be responsible for tracking their Azure. As IT team will be responsible for providing company-wide Azure cost reporting. So what are the 2 different ways that the company called Trailwind Traders would organize their subscription and management group, which would be the best solution to meet the requirement? So you've been assigned to design two hierarchies and explain the decision-making process. I have the solution here. I'm just going to let you look at it because I have another meeting. My boss is already sending me messages. But yeah, so this is the explanation for the case study. So I hope that you we'll talk more. We'll talk more next time. Hello, Tosin. Are you there with me?
Yes, I have.
I
It's
I
been
need
an
I need to
amazing
go.
time.
Thank you. I need to go off because I have to attend the meeting with my
So,
boss.
yes, I'll round off now and call it end. Thank you very much, Raphael, for spending this time with us and giving us the best. You broke it down. Although there was a question as to how is Azure policy different from Arabic in the chat, but yes, you were also able to answer that when you were talking about it. So it's been an amazing session, and yes, we want to say thank you for giving us this learning for Module 1. To everyone on call or listening to this or watching the video, would continue with our module series next week. So we'll continue with module 2, and you don't want to miss it either. Thank you, and have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Electricity.